show. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have a good one. Brian does all the research. You brought me about 3 to 4 pages worth, so we are dialed in today. And Brian, where do you want to start off today?
Well, I don't know that we're going to get to it all today. It's going to carry over into the next one. I apologize that we did not have one this last Sunday, but I had a court appearance before a judge who was not up to snuff. Anyway, this is very important, really important shit here. The left has a war on conservatives. When the left accuses the right of doing things or being things, it is a joke and false, because it is they who are the ones that are doing what they accuse us of doing. They claim that if Trump is elected, he's going to be a dictator. Let that sink in. See what Obama did, see what Biden is doing, but Trump is going to be the dictator. Just a quick example, a couple days ago, Trump said at a rally in Ohio, talking specifically about the auto industry, that if he is not elected, there will be a bloodbath in this country. And he was referring to the auto industry about how Biden and his climate change leftist goons prevent us from, the automakers from building gas and diesel powered vehicles, going strictly to electric vehicles. And he talked about China opening up huge plants in Mexico to build vehicles there, taking away American jobs and American institutions, and then shipping all these cheaply made cars in the United States. And Trump said, if he's elected, he's going to put a 100% tariff on those vehicles in order to protect the auto union, the auto workers, auto industry, and the people that actually do the work. But he called it, if I'm not elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. The left then comes out with headline after headline, news show after news show, claiming that Trump is saying if he's not elected, there's going to be a bloodbath, like people shooting each other on the streets. And that's how they put it, and everybody knew that's not what he meant. It was taken out of context. So when they lie about specific things that were specifically said and change those to their own narrative to talk about how dangerous he is, they also claim he's going to suspend and ignore the Constitution. They also state he will indict and imprison his enemies and his opponents. So let's just take a few of those. Who is ignoring and suspending the Constitution? The federal government is right now. Biden is. Obama did for a while. Obama is doing it by the fact that the Constitution requires the president and the executive branch to defend and uphold the Constitution and provide security and safety for the American public. We got open borders now. We got people coming in, thousands of MS-13, thousands of gang members, thousands of Islamic terrorists. And he did that ignoring the Constitution because he is duty-bound to faithfully defend and execute the laws of the United States. There are laws on the book that preclude open borders, but he has them anyway. We have a First Amendment that precludes the government from abridging free speech rights of the press and of the people. What's he doing? He is coercing and actually threatening media outlets like Facebook, Twitter when it was not owned by Musk, and others to take down content that he disagreed with, take down content that was critical of his administration. He wants to do everything he can to restrict and actually outlaw the Second Amendment. He's actually doing things that violates the Fourth Amendment by doing warrantless arrests, warrantless seizures, and all of that. He's the one that is ignoring the Constitution. He's the one that, regardless of the purse strings that is controlled by Congress, taxpayer dollars, he's the one that wants to suspend or forgive student loan debt that was paid for by taxpayers. He doesn't have a constitutional right to do that. We have to understand that the Constitution, originally passed in 1787, contained all of the things that the government could do. James Mason said, wait a minute, we need a Bill of Rights because we need to have things in the Constitution that forbids the government from doing certain things. And that's where we came up with the 10th Amendment. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So the amendments to the Constitution are what protects the citizens from the government. Says that he will indict and imprison his enemies and opponents if he gets elected. Well, let's start with this. Trump had every right to ask the Justice Department to indict Hillary Clinton for the classified information, for destroying classified material on a home server that she had containing classified material. Had every right to indict her and her minions that were violating law. He did not do that. He had every right to ask the Justice Department to go after Clapper and Brennan. Obama people, head of NSA and the CIA, who spied on American citizens. They did that even though their mission is only with respect to foreign intelligence, not for American intelligence. But Obama used those to spy on Trump's campaign. Use a Department of Justice like Comey et al. To go to the FISA court, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, to get warrants to eavesdrop on Trump campaign officials. Clearly violates the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, but he didn't care. And the deep state holdover from Obama people continued that onslaught into Trump's presidency. So let's talk about those. At any time during the 4 years of Trump's presidency, did he try to stifle free speech rights? No, never, not once. Did he tell social media to take down websites that he didn't like? Did he tell Google not to print certain articles that were criticizing him or his administration? No. Did Obama do it? Yes. Obama imprisoned journalists for speaking the truth. It was Obama's IRS person who was the one that was any charitable organization or C31 or C13 organization left them without the ability to raise money or doing anything because she was holding off from approving them as a tax-exempt organization. That was Lois Lerner. Did Obama hide the ball or prevent IRS from granting tax-exempt organizations when he was president? No, never. There are Fifth Amendment, right to due process, the right to a jury trial in a civil case that involves more than $20. That right was taken away from him by Letitia James in that New York fiasco where now Trump allegedly owes $454 million. It was set before a judge, not a jury. We know that he violated the due process rights of the J6 people. Excessive bail, wouldn't allow them to bail when the Eighth Amendment provides that no excessive bail shall be imposed. He's put them in solitary confinement. The Eighth Amendment protects people from cruel and unusual punishment. the Sixth Amendment right to an attorney. It's sacrosanct in our laws in this United States that a defendant has a right to speak freely with his counsel, and a judge cannot force that attorney to speak against his client. Well, Mayor Garland and the Department of Justice forced Trump attorneys to disclose conversations that attorney had with Trump with respect to the documents that they found in Mar-a-Lago. That is a violation of the Constitution. Did Trump do any of that? Absolutely not. He did not, and any of you trolls out there who want to correct me, please do. The left says that we're going to help Israel at the expense of the Palestine. What they mean is Hamas. We should help Israel. They are our only ally in the Middle East. The left claims that when Trump gets in office, he's going to end all the taxpayer dollars going to Ukraine. What's the matter with that? When they said if Trump is elected, he's going to remove all of the woke from the military and federal agencies, that's a good thing. We don't need a military that talks about DEI and all of that crap. They said that if Trump becomes president, he's going to remove meritocracy for professions. Like I think we want a doctor that got to be a doctor, a physician, a surgeon, based upon merit, not based upon all of these other things that doesn't have anything to do with merit. They want to increase diversity among airline pilots and the FAA. Please, Lord, help us if that ever occurs. He said he's going to terminate the Department of Education or drastically change it because the Department of Education is forcing school districts, et cetera, to have as part of their curriculum DEI fetishes for little kids, LGBTQ stuff for little kids. So Trump is not the problem with this country and won't be the problem with this country. He's going to save the country, and it's the left that is the one that's destroying the country. And it is a war on the right, Christians, and people that just want to be left alone. The Democrats have created that war, and people out there need to be courageous and speak up because without courage, you have nothing. There's a great quote from Tommy Jefferson, who said, "There is no greater tyranny than that which is perpetrated under the shield of law and in the name of justice." Tommy Jefferson also said that if you have a government that fears the people, you have liberty. But if you have a people that fear the government, you have tyranny. That's what's going on right now. People are so afraid to speak out. People are so afraid to go out. People are so afraid to do these things because they fear what the government's going to do, and the government's given them good reason to do it. But you have to ignore that, challenge the government, and be courageous. Most important thing for you to do is read up, be a critical thinker, don't believe the crap that you hear in the news, and be courageous. To stand up for your rights, stand up for your family's rights, and there are a lot more of us than them. They have the big guns in the military, but if it came down to it between the military going after law-abiding citizens that want a country like we've had, the military is going to be on our side. The generals won't be right now. Obama won't. Whoever the Democrats put in there, heaven forbid if it's Kamala or Newsom, That's who we have to fear. We have to fear them, not us. The Democrats say that if Trump is elected, he's going to change all the voting laws to make sure that there's one day of voting, voter ID required when you vote. They said that's going to end democracy. Bullshit. That preserves democracy. They want illegals to be able to vote. That's why they're allowing all these people in the country. That's why they have mail-in ballots. That way they have ballot harvesting. So many of the blue states have gone to ballot harvesting and no voter ID check when you vote. Mass mailing to various addresses, and they don't clean up their voter rolls, which the right is trying to get them to do. And it's utter chaos on blue states with respect to voting. They're going to try to steal this election, no doubt about it. The best thing we can do is be prepared, stop them before they do it, because there are very, very few judges that are not going to, very, very few judges that will allow a lawsuit that would stop the certification of an election. You have to get the judges to hear the case before the shenanigans and illegality already occur. Another thing that the Democrats did is, under the Biden administration, that's when the mandatory vaccines came about. That's when military people, federal agencies, federal hospitals, people had to get the vaccine or they were going to be fired. Blue states followed the same recourse. Get vaccinated or be fired. Be vaccinated or not get hired. They said, we've allowed religious exemptions. Federal government slow-walked these religious exemptions for years. Many states ignored religious exemptions from the vaccine. And the efficacy of the vaccines, we all know that we were lied to about it. We have governors in blue states that shut down businesses, violation of the Fifth Amendment. Amounts to a taking without just compensation. You say, well, they didn't take businesses, they just ordered them shut down. The Fifth Amendment protects the government from taking your property without just compensation, even for lawful purposes, like they need your land to put in a post office or a school. They can abide by the Fifth Amendment by providing just compensation as long as there's a public purpose. There's no difference between that and closing down businesses without just compensation and allowing these little bureaucrats, dictators like Newsom in California, Hochul in New York, I could go down the laundry list of these governors that shut down various businesses, but they picked and chose who. Bars, strip clubs could stay open, cannabis clubs could stay open, liquor stores could stay open, but hair salons could not stay open. Real estate offices could not stay open. You run down the list of all those businesses that were closed during, quote, the COVID crisis. That's a taking without just compensation. I was requested by a number of people to represent them and go after the government for these shutdowns, and I had a perfect way to do it, which is the Fifth Amendment, besides the fact that it's arbitrary and capricious. The problem is that all these people are licensed by the state, and all they had to do was somebody standing up for their rights, and they would lose their license. So I said, okay, these are your choices. You know the State Board of Cosmetology, you know that these various other licensing agencies, building contractors, any licensing agency, alcoholic beverage control, if you lose your liquor license, you don't make any money. You go out of business anyway. But if you do challenge it, they're going to take your license away anytime, anyway, without due process of law, without giving it a second thought, because they are merciless when they come after people that don't want to abide by their dictates. We had the blue states during the pandemic, and it has gone further than that ever since the pandemic was over, is we had the government under Biden shut down any claims that the virus came from China, or that Fauci was full of shit, or that the vaccines helped. They went so far as to change the definition of vaccine because they knew under the current definition, a vaccine was supposed to stop the spread of the virus, which this, quote, vaccine did not. And they put into place the fact that Pfizer, Moderna, et cetera, they could not be sued for a vaccine, which was bullshit. These mandatory vaccines, it created all kinds of health issues for millions of people because they had no way of knowing what the long-term results were. But that is what the left does. Trump never shut down any institution with mass mandates, mandatory vaccines, etc. It was all under Biden. So, left, screw you. If Biden gets elected, there will be a bloodbath. A bloodbath in economically, spiritually. You had the blue states during the pandemic, they closed down churches. The strip clubs were okay. That is what you get when you have the left. Ben Franklin once said, "Those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." That's what we're dealing with here. You don't want to go along and give up your liberty because you think it's going to make you safer, because the left will never stop taking away your liberty, and they're not going to provide safety. What are we doing with our military that's supposed to defend this country? We are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine and other places, and our military they've run out of munitions, they've run out of fighter jets, they've run out of all kinds of things, and then you have the woke people in there promoting this DEI, making it mandatory for the military to abide by that. Obama was very concerned that we needed more female military pilots, which is fine. But I can't remember how much money they spent on research to get flight suits for women pilots who were pregnant. But they wanted to make sure we had more women pilots, so they created they used so much money to come up with flight suits for pregnant people. They came up with so much money to advance those that were not based on merit in order to be able to fly fighter jets, etc. Military's for the best and the brightest. It's colorblind. They don't care about what race, religion, nationality you are, as long as you are part of the fighting machine. So they're destroying what their obligation is to protect the American citizens from foreign enemies, and they're to protect us from domestic enemies. They're not doing that with open borders. They're not vetting any of these people. We don't know who they are. And just on March 8th, an Obama-appointed judge stated that illegal aliens, well, undocumented people, according to the left, can now carry firearms because it otherwise violate the Equal Protection Clause. If American citizens can carry firearms, so can illegals. Just think of that. The left hates firearms. They hate the right for liking the Second Amendment. They have failed miserably in trying to outlaw the Second Amendment in so many venues with so many rules and regulations. And so hers is a tit for tat. Okay, you guys like the Second Amendment? Right to carry for illegal aliens. So now we've got millions of illegal aliens from countries that hate us, criminals from countries that hate us, coming to this country, and now they have a right to carry a firearm? If you arrest them for a traffic violation, even though they don't have a driver's license, and they have a gun, according to this judge, an Obama appointee, you can't prosecute them because they have an equal protection right. Equal protection does not apply to non-citizens, and the government can come up with reasonable regulations limiting firearm use. Not the way the left wants, but this is her tit for tat. Just recently, well, as I said before, the amendments to the Constitution are, when the Constitution was passed, George Mason, one of the founding fathers, was very upset that the Constitution didn't have restrictions on government. And he insisted that they have restrictions on government. The founding father says, okay, let's pass this Constitution first because we need a body of law to operate in the future. Executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. Okay. So it took a couple more years before we got the amendments, which is a restriction on government ability to regulate private citizens. There was a U.S. Supreme Court case argued yesterday, brought by several states' attorney generals, obviously not Newsom and Hochul and that group, where the states said that the federal government, the Obama administration, and Department of Justice, FBI, requiring social media companies, Google, Facebook, Twitter at the time, from putting out any information regarding COVID vaccines, which was not in lockstep with the administrations, regarding where the virus came from, China, regarding any contrary information brought up by scientists, epidemiologists, et cetera, chastising the vaccines and the lockdowns and the shutdowns of our schools, et cetera. And he ordered them to take it down, which they did. Somebody was arguing that, well, the government actually didn't shut it down. They just coerced the companies not to. The Constitution not only forbids the government from doing things, the Constitution precludes the government from requiring third parties to do their dirty work. So, for example, I'll get back to this thing, our oral argument yesterday. During the Obama administration, they knew that our government could not be eavesdropping on American citizens. And when they were found out, first of all, they denied it. Clapper, Obama appointee, testified before Congress, we don't eavesdrop on American citizens. He later had to admit that he lied before Congress. Nobody ever indicted him for it. So what the government did is they asked key allies in foreign countries, Australia, England, France, can't remember who else, that their spy agencies spy on us and then give the information to the American government. They can't do that. It's forbidden. It's forbidden by constitutional law. But anyway, this judge, at yesterday's hearing, challenging the government's efforts to shut down contrary speech, she asked the attorney arguing for us, the people, she said that here's my problem. You're using the First Amendment to interfere with the government's ability to keep out of the public reach information that the government deems problematical or misinformation. And that is because in these troubled times, that's very dangerous when you're using the First Amendment to stop the government from interfering. I'm thinking, you dumb, an Obama appointee, that's the very purpose of the First Amendment, is to stop the government from doing this. The retort is, well, the government, because she says what you're doing is stopping the government from speaking. The answer is no, we're not stopping the government from speaking. We're stopping the government from precluding others from speaking. If the government wants to send out their message, talking about how great these vaccines are, how great the lockdowns are, how great the masks are, how great shutting down businesses are, let them go out and make their case. But you can't shut down the opposing point of view. That is in the heart of the First Amendment. She was appointed by Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's the one that during the Senate confirmation hearings, she couldn't define what a woman was. That's who we get appointed. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Obama said the next Supreme Court appointee is going to be a black woman. You don't get it on merit. You got somebody that checked a box. Same thing with Kamala Harris. She's an idiot. She's a dummy. That's the way she treats our Constitution. That's the way how she treats the right. Her claims regarding the Second Amendment are just outrageous. Are you telling me there's only 5 minutes left?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get to that, but I have to tell you a story. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Back by popular demand.
Yep.
A story from my U.S. Attorney's days. Well, there's two of them, but I'd been in the U.S. Attorney's Office for about 3 months. At that time, they had not formed any organized crime drug task force, but the DEA and state narcotics agents and local narcs, they liked me because I would go to bat for them. I'd answer the phone on weekends at 11 o'clock at night, answer their questions, etc. I get a call from the DEA office in Fresno. It says, Brian, we have something that's coming up that I think we ought to be aware of. Steve is going to get it delivered 36 ounces of black tar heroin, which at that time was very, very powerful. So powerful that people didn't know how to cut it, dilute it. So you'd have heroin overdose left and right. And they're coming out of LA. They're all illegally here. They're in two different vehicles, two in one in the other one. We have them surveilled down in LA, and one is going into gun stores. At one point, he goes into a gun store with his shotgun, wants ammunition for it. The guy said, no, that's an illegal gun. He had a sawed-off shotgun, trying to buy ammo. And so a DEA agent, after the guy left, went in there and said, yeah, he's trying to buy ammo for this. He finally buys ammo at another place without bringing in the shotgun. So he's driving up. We have an airplane up there following him up here. And they go to a motel in Tulare, right off the freeway by the Tulare Airport, Tulare Golf Course. They get two different rooms. The two guys that check into one room, they go out in the field. They go underneath the tree. Can't have car surveillance because they could see them, so we had aerial surveillance. And then the lone guy that was trying to buy the ammunition for a sawed-off shotgun, he arrives, checks into the other hotel. It's a Fleabag hotel down there. And so he then comes out and meets Steve in the parking lot and delivers 8 ounces. And he wants the money first, and it was $19,000 an ounce, which is a lot of money back then. Well, it's still a lot of money. And as soon as he delivers the 8 ounces, he gets arrested in the parking lot. As soon as he gets arrested in the parking lot, out of the bathroom window and the living room window out of the other hotel room, they start shooting at us. Well, I went down with them. I was in another car. Went down with them. There was gunfire. Went on for 13 minutes. One of the agents leans up, goes like this, and shoots his own door. Another one shot a window next door. And because these guys were shooting out of both the living room and the bathroom window. Anyway, finally, 3 of them bust in the front door. And the guy turns his gun on him, the guy that was in that room, and he shot with a shotgun, a DEA shotgun. Didn't kill him, shot him right in the chest at about 15 feet. DEA changed their ammunition after that for the shotgun shells. The other guy was in the bathroom. And you could tell he's just flushing this other heroin down the toilet. Well, Jim, one of my best friends, best man at my wedding, he goes in the bathroom after that guy's arrested, and he sees a wallet in brown water in the toilet. And he picks up the wallet and all the stuff in the wallet and puts it on the toilet tank. They're going to say, well, that's where they're dumping that heroin. So, meanwhile, they're arresting these guys, and they have medics out there because the one guy was shot with a shotgun and stuff like that. And the Tulare County Sheriff, the sheriff, not a deputy sheriff, he goes in there and he has to take a leak. So he goes in that bathroom, pisses in the toilet, and flushes it. There's been all of our evidence, okay? The one guy that delivered the heroin, he pled guilty. The other 2 decided to go to trial. They said they didn't know he was doing a heroin delivery. They said he was just wanted protection, so they were there. They don't know what happened to heroin. They don't know anything about it. We had dope sniffing dogs go out to the field, try to find it. Our laboratory up in the DEA laboratory in San Francisco could not detect heroin. I think, where'd this stuff go? I'm in Washington, D.C. for some conference, and I call my agent, and I said, Steve, why don't we have the lab check it for morphine? Because heroin, if it's in water, will break down into morphine. Morphine and then opium. So they did that, and they said, yeah, we got morphine residue in the stuff that came out of the toilet, the wallet and stuff. But we're still looking for the other 9 ounces. So anyway, I said to Steve, that little flea bag hotel, I'll bet you they have a septic tank. He goes, oh, bro, you're not thinking what I'm thinking. Yeah, let's go pump out that septic tank that goes to that motel room where those guys were. So he gets the septic tank guy. The guy had to put a screen on there. They pump out the septic tank. They find condoms all over the place because that heroin was delivered in Trojan condoms dated 12/79, December of 79. These take it to trial, and when he pumped out the septic tank, he found about 8 condoms, Trojan condoms dated 12/79, but were ripped. They were tied in a knot, but they were ripped below the knot. And he found like 6 of those. They filed a motion to suppress because we didn't get a search warrant for the septic tank. They have no right to the search warrant for a septic tank because it wasn't theirs. Then they wanted the court to dismiss it. Actually, the case was sent to Sacramento because Sacramento had more marshals, and they were afraid these guys are flight risks and stuff like that. So we tried it up in Sacramento. Said, well, you didn't save any of the other condoms that were found in there? No, I didn't. Why? This is in front of a jury. And he says, well, some had ticklers, some had feathers, but I was looking for Trojan dated 12/79. So I kept those. The judge denies their motion to dismiss. And so we're at a recess, and the court interpreter comes up to Steve and I and says, one of these defendants, defendant X, who's a bad dude, he's asking me where all the stairwells are. He's asking me how many marshals are outside. Stuff like that. And he says, I think there's an escape thing. So apparently he tells the defendant's attorney that he told Steve and I. The defendant's attorney comes out, I won't say his name, he's from L.A. He comes down the hallway, screams at me and Steve. He says, we're asking for a mistrial because we heard the court interpreter was telling you about our client, blah, 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 that stuff like that. violates the law. You had no right to listen to him. You should have sent him away. Says, Albert, you must have mistaken me for someone who gives a shit what you think. Anyway, he says, well, I'm going to talk to the judge. So the judge calls us back into the chambers, and Albert says, I got to tell you what happened, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened then? Well, I spoke to Steve and Leighton, and, well, what was said? Well, Leighton said, he must have mistaken me for someone who gives a shit what you think. The judge probably laughed for 5 minutes. He thought it was hilarious, which pissed off Albert to beat the band. He couldn't stand that. And anyway, the guy denied the trial. Both of them got 20 years. They should have got more than that because they were shooting at agents and stuff like that. But the jury, they deliberated probably about a half an hour, and then a bunch of the jurors came up and talked to us about it, and the judge called us in there and wanted to know how the canine units and stuff like that, how they sniffed out heroin and stuff like that. I'd been on the job 4 months. Joined January 6th, and this is in April. And then the trial was a little bit later. So anyway, just a funny story.
Awesome. I think we're going to hear more of those in the future.
Well, I have 3 on my list, but
we're going to save those for next time. So thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe. And if you're watching on any other platform, Apple, Spotify, anything like that, give us a like and a follow. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time.
Be good, people. Be well, and keep your head on a swivel. The left hates you.